microprocessors the works.
Yeah, if you can figure out how to use that thing, you can, I don't know how the hell it works.
I've done it. Is that your rear end device readout display there?
No, right here. Made it useful. It's a way of going by an area and hitting the counter. And then what it does, it'll count backwards, and that lets you know when you're by that certain point.
Is that your radio I'm pointing at right now?
Right, that's your radio. 4 channels, and that keypad, if you certain signalmen, radiomen, they have an access code, and you can dial right into that, you know, and call wherever you want. It's quite different from whatever we're used to.
It's a lot like the Amtrak electrics.
Right.
Same thing.
On this part of Conrail, they'll use that east of Harrisburg, and that corresponds with your cab signals. And so what happens is that just says CS right now. It means just the cab signal device is cut in.
Okay.
When that locomotive speed limiter is set up and operational, when your cab signals change, you know, you have to reduce the speed of your train. Where that CS is, it'll print out. I think it's 30 seconds, and it starts to count backwards, and so you have a certain amount of time to reduce the speed of your train, or it makes a penalty application.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that principle.
Yeah, all right, and this is a fuel saver. So what it says is we have 2 units that are operational at the moment, and if you're in a position where you don't need 2 units to haul your train, you'd punch these buttons.
Last 2 units aren't working on this?
No. So what you would do is when you're in your operating mode, there, see, you've reduced one. Now I only have 1 unit operating. All right, so then to put it back on the line, you punch that in, and it'll come back up.
What did you punch to get that back?
Right here.
Oh, okay.
See, it'll say add, that'll say subtract. Then this one right here is this train line fault. This tells you if that starts blinking, then you know one of your units that are trailing, you have a problem with it.
How's the acceleration rate on these?
These piss poor. They really are very poor. The only thing we don't like is it's got poor throttle response. And your brake valve, your brake handle is a different type of operation. It's not. It just glides forward. And so you have to pay a lot of attention to your brake pipe pressure. You'll get more air on than what you need.
So the handles on the left and right are what here?
Right. This is a independent brake.
Engine brake.
Engine brake only. That'll release it. That tells you it's coming down. That's your application of it.
And that's your main train brake on the left.
Right. This is your train line, your brake pipe.
We run with 70 psi or?
Yeah. Well, it's independent now. See, it'll say independent brake pipe pressure 72 pounds. That's your.
Okay.
All right. That's the amount of brake pipe pressure in your brake cylinders on your engines only. Right?
Yeah.
And we're carrying 90 pounds of brake pipe pressure. That's the amount of pressure throughout the train line. Well, that's the setting here. But we've got a rather poor train line because you see we're only carrying 79 on the rear end. See on this, that's all there is to it. And to go into dynamic, talk her over and up, and you'll put it to a setup position.
See.
And once you'll hear your contactors once they all set up. Yeah, they set up. That'll give you your load going up.
So basically, what that does is turn your traction motors into generators.
Right.
What is it about those dynamic brakes on these engines? They scream like hell.
Well, you figure now you're producing energy. The traction motors. Well, you said you converted your traction motor to a generator. So They do scream like hell. The dynamic brakes on these are outstanding.
They take effect immediately.
Immediately.
Right away you feel the slowdown. Does it upset slack action when you do that? I mean, it's like downshifting a car, isn't it?
Well, what you have to do is when you go to a setup position while you're moving, you get about 100 amps.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is with that 100 amps, and depending on your speed, generally you'll get her bunched up pretty quick. She'll start up real quick like that. But of course, you know, when you use dynamic, you just can't put it on and throw it right out at 8. Yeah, you get some bad slack action.
Quite.
It'll knock you right on your ass.
Miles an hour, that's it, huh?
That's it. Track speed on Conrail is only 60.
Yeah.
Except for passenger.
Well, they would never use these in intermodal trains, would they? Are they planning on it? Because I've never seen
I
it.
don't know. I don't.
They usually use
Couldn't tell you.
4 axles on those.
You mean for piggybacks?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely they'll run the piggyback train. Conrail just bought 50 up. We had a road foreman this afternoon.
What's 50?
He said 50. And you'll start seeing a lot of them out there.
I'm wondering if they'll go to wide cab EMDs. They seem to be the EMDs seem to be engineer favorites. I find they don't
They
like
are.
these.
Believe me, they are.
I guess the problem with these is wheel slipping, like you said. And,
They're very slow. They're just very slow to load. You get into a position where when you're starting out a train, and, you know, especially if it's excess tonnage, you need, you know, as you're starting to move, you can feel that slack, you know, as you're moving it. And when that slack starts to tighten up, and you want that extra 200 or 300 amps, you want it right now. You don't want to have to wait 30 seconds for this thing to take off. That 30 seconds you stalled her out, you can't get her started again.
I imagine these things will work quite well in the wintertime.
Yeah, General Electrics are good for their heaters.
I guess that's about all they're good for, right?
These ride nice. They ride exceptionally nice. They're very quiet. There's a plaque up there that tells
So
you.
compared to the SD60 model, it's about the second newest engines there ever has.
I don't know, I stick with 30 and these things. This is a feature they've started to put on the conductor. You know, he can see what the hell's going on.
Oh, yeah. They got a lot of room to do paperwork, all right.
He just asked me about his clear 5.
Conrail C40-8W Anderson, Pennsylvania, track 1, nose ready for the GB2 out.
I think my dad would get a kick out of this. Retired electric repairman.
There you are, diagnostic access switch.
What is this? Well, that's auxiliary. EXC, cab, explain those boxes there.
I can't. It's probably wiring for everything that's in the cab.
EXC.
It might be for excitation. Generally, these things, you open them up and they plug into an external unit, and it analyzes the entire engine, you know, all the electronics and what it's doing.
All that wiring in there, you figure something would screw up somewhere. So you might have a backup system here and there, so if one fails, something can take its place. I don't know.
Power meter there. Level 2.
Stop doing password.
That's as far as you're gonna get. Please try again. Yeah. Ready?
Test
Water
history.
history. Show which faults. Which time? 31,143 hours.
hours on this thing. Jesus. Road number.
6080.
72 volts for the battery.
Was that a DC?
Right. It's direct, all locomotives.
Okay, I figured that.
Go back.
So I noticed some engines have outlets for 72 volts. I was wondering what they were for.
Yeah.
Charging batteries or some
You mean
testing
in the
device?
cab?
Yeah.
Let's make your coffee or your hot chocolate. I can shit. That's what you use it for.
No kidding.
Honest to God.
Well, maybe it was for a vacuum or something, whatever.
Low blow fan data. Don't know what that is.
I don't know what
Optional.
stuff is.
It gives you heat of the traction motors, cab status.
To give your dynamic brake air temperature?
I have no idea.
I think,
This is something that we don't.
I think so, but I
It's
can't.
more mainly for shop people to worry about.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Attractive power. Braking kilowatts. Total miles 12,633.
That's not much.
Total miles.
And they only run Conway to Harrisburg. That's it, huh?
Really? No, this thing, if this was an intermodal, you'd get to Harrisburg and they'll cut that LSL in and then they'd run it down the corridor.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. That's right.
Passing train is Conrail's TV2. There's also a westbound train switching in the yard as well, so Lewistown's quite busy this afternoon.
Rising reservoir. So this will operate the valve and this will reduce. But what happens is you don't hear anything. That's it. There's a 6-pound application. And you can see when you make the application. There now the brakes are set up on your entire train. It's been reduced. But you don't have that airflow that you normally tend to listen to all the time. That's a pain in the neck. Yeah, this is a little, there's no calibration in here to tell you, to feel. You have to constantly watch that brake valve, which is a pain in the neck. But we've reduced the brake pipe pressure. Now we've got 75 on last car. Now we'll release the brakes and then that'll start coming back up. You got an airflow and you